The price of society is reining in your animal instincts and being subject to the laws and morality of the country you live in. But while some laws are designed to keep us safe, others are so arbitrary or oppressive that it can chill you to the bone. I'm Andrew Boyd, and though I usually host the Top 10 Nerd channel where we talk about comic books and their various characters, I seem to have traveled to some alternate dimension that is as vast as space and as timeless as infinity. A dimension where, to get home to my own channel, I must tell you about the top 5 scariest laws actually enforced around the world. With that said, let's begin our journey. Number 5. There is no chewing gum allowed in Singapore. For many, chewing gum is a great way to keep your mouth occupied and to help you relax while experiencing minty, fresh flavors and keeping your breath acceptable for general company. The problem with gum, of course, is that once it has lost its flavor, it can be difficult to find a place to dispose of it. This is the story of how a few bad faith chewers changed government policy and made mastication on public transit illegal. In 1983, Singapore's Minister of National Development proposed a ban for chewing gum due to the large number of vandals who were leaving their spent gum on elevator buttons, keyholes, and even mailboxes. Gum left in public areas increased the cost of cleaning and would often damage the cleaning equipment, leading to even more increased spending. The Prime Minister at the time did not go forward with the ban as he considered it too drastic, but that all changed in 1987. The country had just spent $5 billion on a new mass rapid transit system, the largest public project in the history of the country. Vandals began causing costly delays by putting used chewing gum over the sensors of the automatic train doors, causing lengthy and costly delays. Rather than suffer through a slow rush hour, the new Prime Minister decided to enforce the chewing gum ban. This ban made it illegal to import or sell chewing gum in the country, with anyone caught importing the substance into the country being subject to thousands of dollars in fines and even jail time. The ban was eventually amended to allow for special medicinal gums that could be prescribed by a dentist, but the idea of someone ending up in prison over some hubba bubba is disturbing to say the least. Number 4. India's Locust Law. Locusts are grasshopper-like creatures that are capable of causing devastation on a biblical scale. Although they often lead solitary lives, during droughts, the creatures come together as a group to form giant swarms that can travel up to 81 miles per day. These swarms can quickly devastate crops, causing famine and death in the regions they inhabit. Keeping these bugs at bay is such an important issue that India has a law that ensures they have all hands on deck in the event of a major infestation. The old law states that any young man over the age of 14 must report for duty and do everything in his power to fight the locusts when summoned. Failure to report for duty can result in a fine or even imprisonment, meaning that any 14-year-old must choose in a time of crisis between prison and facing the swarm. This law is so old that it states that the citizens will be notified by the beating of a drum in the event of a locust invasion. But its age does not mean it doesn't have the possibility of being enforced, as the rule was seriously considered back in 2020 by the Indian government when the country was overrun by several giant swarms of the hungry creatures. Number 3. Sharing passwords in Tennessee, USA. There was a time when Netflix seemed revolutionary, with a wealth of content you could access with the click of a button, eliminating the need for expensive physical media. In the years since, several companies have gotten in on the streaming action, with new services popping up every day. In order to keep up to date with the gang from Stranger Things, the adorable antics of Baby Yoda, and the even cuter antics of Ted Lasso, you have to be subscribed to 3 different services, and the price of this can add up quickly. One of the solutions to this is to do what I never could: entertain friends. With these friends, you could pool your funds to subscribe to multiple services. While this may seem innocent enough, you could face dire consequences if this is how you do it in the American state of Tennessee. After pressure from the recording industry lobby in an effort they claim is to prevent internet piracy, Tennessee passed a law that makes sharing passwords for any entertainment service illegal. This includes Netflix, Disney+, Spotify, you name it. If you are caught engaging in password sharing, you could be subject to a fine of $2,500 and up to a year in prison. This is the only state in the country that has this law so far, but the idea of citizens being so severely punished for simply sharing the resources they've paid for, and the precedent it sets, is more than enough to make my skin crawl. Number 2. Taking a selfie with the Buddha in Sri Lanka. While traveling abroad, abroad, it can be difficult to keep track of cultural differences that could inadvertently result in you insulting the people of your host country. While some of these can lead to amusing misunderstandings, others could result in your ignorance putting you in a foreign prison. Such is the case in our next entry. In the country of Sri Lanka, over 70% of the population practice Buddhism as their religion and take any perceived slight against their chosen prophet very seriously. It is considered a great sign of disrespect to turn your back on a statue of the Buddha, and if caught doing this, you could receive a very stern talking to, or in some cases, jail time. Something that has happened to tourists traveling abroad in the country a few times is that they have tried to take a photo with a statue, and rather than following the rules of having someone else take the photo while they turn towards or stand next to the statue, they take a selfie instead. This of course results in a photo where the subject is standing in front of the statue with their back turned to the stone figure. While this usually results in someone simply making you delete the photo, there was a case where a French couple took a photo with a Buddha statue while pretending to give the prophet a kiss. They were charged and convicted soon after. So, when traveling abroad, make sure to learn a bit about the local customs, or you could unexpectedly find yourself in a foreign prison with no clue what you did to end up there. Number 1. Reincarnating without permission in China. While we are on the subject of Buddhism, let's talk about this law in China. In a move they claim is to institutionalize management of reincarnation, the Chinese government's State Administration for Religious Affairs has put laws in place that prohibit the Buddhist monks in Tibet from reincarnating without permission. The law states the following. Once an application for a living Buddha's reincarnation has received approval, the management organization at the monastery where the living Buddha is registered, or the corresponding Buddhist association, shall establish a search team to look for the reincarnate soul child, and search affairs shall be carried out under the leadership of the guidance team. No group or individual may without authorization carry out any activities related to searching for or recognizing reincarnating living Buddha soul children. While the idea of your soul's journey after death being subject to government approval is terrifying in its own right, it is believed that the goal of this law is to ensure that when the current Dalai Lama dies, the Chinese government is able to make sure that his successor is someone that they can ensure is loyal to them, which is equally disturbing for its own reasons. With that, our journey into the bizarre and somewhat frightening laws of the globe has come to an end. Obviously, there are scarier laws that result in human rights violations and oppression, but for a channel that is trying to not just be depressing and wishes to remain monetized, I'd say these were pretty spooky. The intangible forces that brought me here have asked that I remind you to like, comment, and subscribe so that this dark dimension does not disappear in space, dooming all who reside here. I'm off to try and find my way back to my usual channel. Hopefully, I will not discover that my soul has become trapped in this liminal space, forcing me to remain here, continuing to bring you tales of the macabre and the disturbing. If that is the case, I will see you again soon on Top 5 Scary Videos.